Alright, hey, welcome everyone. So this is Iron Most representing Game Duchy for Iron Saga Versus. We're doing the second part of the community DLC, future DLC suggestions. So basically we're going to talk about what people have suggested as robots they want to see in our future DLC. Now, for people who may or may not know, our game, Iron Saga Versus, it's a fighting game where a lot of robots from popular mecha anime show up, like Mazinger Z, Geto Robo, Dankuga, and very soon Zero Reimer. But of course, as with our mobile game, we have the possibility to get other licenses, so it really depends on what's available, what we're able to communicate, and also what people want to see. That's also an element in how we determine, right? Like the popularity of any said DLC will at least affect it a little bit. So to respond to Zone Game Official asking if there will be 2 seasons of DLC, basically we're at an uncertain area right now. I'm actually not going to be working for Iron Saga Versus for much longer. My contract is ending. There's been, like some issues have been faced by the game, the company, but they're still, they're still committed to keep working on Versus, as well as their other projects. This means everything you saw in the roadmap for Season 1 will be made, so we have Mazen Kaiser, of course. The trailer just got released on our YouTube, and then we will have the story mode, we will have Blygetter, and we will have Zerimer. As for another season of DLC, it's very possible. Basically, that's all I can say right now. It's, nothing is announced, right? We're not out with any concrete plan, but don't lose hope is what I'll say. Which is why we're doing this at all, right? To see what robots people want to see, to talk about everyone's favorite mechs, everyone's favorite, a little about the story mode. I'm not allowed to say a lot. What I can tell you, which we've seen a little bit, the story mode will be a strategy game. It will be a little like certain other robot games, which is to say it's a tactics, right? Where each of your robots are on a grid, little squares, and we will have this strategy element where not only can you enter fighting game combat when you get close to a unit, but there's also actions outside of that and things that will have, like knockback or area effects. The one thing I could probably tease about it is that there's possibility of roguelike elements. We'll see. That's not 100% determined, but what the dev team seem to go towards is that kind of formula. So hopefully we'll be able to see that. To answer Road to the Top, is there a line for what can and can't be considered for guest DLC? Like, what would the chances of including a guest from a Super Sentai be? I think that's possible, right? I think generally we want to keep within the theme of mecha, right? So a giant robot, or at least something that's close enough. A lot of people have talked about Tekken Blade. Of course, Tekken Blade isn't our mobile game, but it is basically a human-sized robot guy. He's more like a biotech kind of thing. But yeah, I think I think it's pretty open to interpretation as long as it kind of fits the theme, which, giant robot related. I think you're safe. So yes, Sentai I think is definitely within consideration. There was Ultraman after all in the mobile game as well. Yeah, absolutely. I think both of those can be considered. I hope we see more robots from the OG game. Me too. There's quite a vast selection of Iron Saga mechs. We'll see, like last time we saw, and if I can show over here, let's see. Oops, we got a little bit of a spoiler there, but This is from the last time we did the English survey, which had, I think, like 340 votes. Each of them had a possibility of voting for up to 3 characters. And there were quite a few, if I was to order it by series here, there were quite a few Iron Saga originals requested, right? Not big in numbers, you know, like only up to 3 per. Onikiri, Virgil, Asura, and Deer Stalker were at 3, and Dante as well. But the other ones, you can see it's not a huge amount. And you won't see a lot more from the more recent, the other events. I think at the live events, you'll see some of them were, you know, anime convention, fighting game tournaments. So you'll see a lot of people who are not necessarily huge mecha fans. I mean, some of them were. But a lot of people will be more general anime fans or fighting game fans. And you'll see their suggestions are a bit less. You know, we didn't have a lot of people who played the mobile game compared to what we had with the survey, which was to our initial adopters, right? This was done, I think, in the second week of the game's lifespan, and the survey was out for 2 weeks. So that's why we have more Iron Saga requests there than we'll have afterwards. In August, we will have the biggest offline championship in Brazil. It would be cool to have Iron Saga Versus. You can talk to the people in the Arena Committee's Twitter. Absolutely. I mean, people are always welcome to organize things. I don't know to what extent we're able to provide any reward materials besides what we have with Match Arena. Now, I don't know if you guys saw at our last TNS event, we had a special deal with Match Arena where participants to the tournament, the winner, and anyone who contributed to the Match Arena, which is a prize pool management app, right, where people can contribute money for people to win, they could get in-game titles. So Godzilla is completely off the table. Well, so Godzilla has a lot of giant robots, right? This question from the Great Koba. So, you know, you'll see some Mecha Godzilla requests. Very few, but they're there. Spoilers, Mecha Godzilla shows up in this list. My question is, are there going to be more arsenals for characters? Because because we saw Mazen Kaiser being an arsenal from Mazinger Z. It's not really a priority to my understanding. So Mazen Kaiser will be an arsenal for Mazinger Z because they share a lot of moves. They're basically built with the same skeleton, right? And it's the same for Getter Robo. We'll have Black Getter as an additional arsenal because they also share a lot of moves. They have some different unique stuff, both of them. But yeah, that's CDHB Sage's question. And we already have an active community of active players. Thank you, Zone Game. Well, looking forward to see that for sure. And especially if you have anything on social media, the team will be glad to retweet to boost your presence. And make these. We need Iron Saga Versus on consoles from Patoka. That's coming. Do not worry. All right. I'll be doing a little bit zooming through our different answers because we don't want it to take as much time as it took last time. Our stream was a little longer than we expected. So we basically already compiled all the data of the results. We'll be showing it every time we finish one event. And then we'll just go over quickly. So, as a first one to kind of bamboozle people a little bit, since I don't think a lot of Japanese speakers are online here. So this is slightly less exciting. Afterwards, we'll have the physical ones where I'll be taking from these 2 boxes from events and be placing them here for you guys to read. But first, we'll just go through the Japanese ones. There's not a lot. We only had 74 people who answered the Japanese survey, which we separated. And it was just 1 answer per person, but some people answered more than 1. Whenever this would happen, to be respectful of the answers of the initial survey, basically we only counted the first 3 robots that people would suggest. Oh my god. Yeah, well, it's Japanese, but luckily I can read Japanese a little bit, at least enough to understand the robot names. Any more than that might be a bit tough for me. So first of all, we have nothing. So this person did not have a specific suggestion. Then we have Grandizer, very popular pretty much globally, especially in the Middle East and in Europe as well. This is the successor to Mazinger Z, Great Mazinger. How many polls did we do? We only did 2 online polls, CDHB Sage. We did 1 English one, 1 Japanese one at the start of the game's lifespan. And then we did 1 at a physical event. So at a anime convention called SakuraCon. We then did 1 in Combo Breaker. And also 1 at Evo Japan. Actually, Evo Japan was before Combo Breaker. The Evo Japan one is a lot smaller because we were only able to do it in a later part of it. Not that many people showed up at this point. And also, generally, the interactions with Japanese clients, I would say they were a bit more shy and courteous compared to a lot of people at anime conventions or fighting game tournaments. In America, they're a bit more like, oh, yes, I want to see my robot, you know, like a bit more forward about those things. So I'll just quickly go towards it. So we got, like I said, Grandizer, then we got Danball, Senki series. Now, when people put series like that, we tend to just go for the main character for the time. We got Gurren Lagann, Gao Gaigar, then Gurren Lagann and Gao Gaigar. We got Kotetsu Jig here. We got something that's a bit beyond my Japanese level, mentioning Vasago over here. If any Japanese speakers want to do a better translation, please go ahead, but this one, a little bit above my level. If the team counted it, maybe Please Their Tumbleweed can chime in the chat for what they counted this as. Then we got someone who wanted a lot. We got Gao Gaigar series, Gurren Lagann, Gunbuster, for Top Onerai is the name of it, aim for the top. And we also have Brave Earn. Of course, like I said, we only count the first 3, generally speaking. Up next, we have someone who wanted a bunch. What's this again? Too many kanji. We also have Cowboy Bebop, so that would be our special unit. So, for those who didn't know, there is a special robot in the mobile game of Iron Saga called the Lancefish, which is a mecha version of the Swordfish 2, the spaceship from Cowboy Bebop. So this is owned exclusively by Iron Saga, and a few people were hyped to see it again. Then they asked for Sakura Taisen, Gao Gaigar, Macross, Virtualon, Gundam, Pat Labors. Of course, we have a big mecha fan here asking for a lot, but like I said, we only counted the first 3. Then we have nothing in particular from my understanding. Again, when it's more full sentences like this, my level of Japanese kind of a little difficult. It's easier for me to read just the character names. We got, we say we just put whatever, and love Vasago. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we got Tekkaman Blade. We got no suggestion. We got what is this? Exoxon. Yeah. Please don't make fun of me. Tumbleweed, please, if you can give me this one as well. Then we got Gespenst. Exaxion. I am not familiar with that robot. No wonder I was getting confused about it. But yeah, Gespenst from Super Robot Wars right after. Then no suggestion again. Then we got Gundam series. We got Dangaio, which is also in our mobile game. Vaikung Fu from Machine Robo. Gao Gaigar. Black Sarina, the Estavalis upgrade in Martian Successor. Naresiko, the future. Then we have Razefon. And then we have Tobikage right here. That one I can read. And then Virtualon again, Temjin. Gundam series, Gridman series. Marked you for the August event. Appreciate it, Zone Game Official. We'll have a look at that. And then we have Evangelion. Again, if it's the series name, we'll just go with the most popular of it. So Evangelion would be EVA Unit 1, God Gundam, and Psybuster from Super Robot Wars. Tobikage, hide your wallets. We got a Tobikage fan in the chat. Gao Gaigar, Combatler. Didn't even put the V here. We're adding the V. Combatler V, Gunbuster, Vaikung Fu, Dangayo, Nizhek from Iron Saga, Grandizer, Tengen Topaguren Laigan, Eternal Go Prime, which I'm not familiar with what that is. Sounds like almost like a spaceship. We got Aquarion, we got Pat Labor, Kotetsuji again. Gundam RX-78, so the original Gundam right here. Gao Gaigar, spelled in English letters, thank you. The team thanks you. No, we're okay with Japanese names. Eternal Prime, yeah, you're... Oh, that's from Iron Saga. You'd think I know these, but there are so many in the mobile game. And again, I'm from, you know, I joined for the fighting game. I'm from the fighting game community, and I'm much more familiar with outside series than our rather staggering amount of original design. What else we got over here? Machine Robos, Vaikung Fu again. We got Yushao Gao Gaigar, of course. And then Nadisco, the Black Sarena. Then we got Psybuster, Mazen Kaiser's Skull, which is separate from Mazen Kaiser, which is just coming out to our game soon. We got the Big O right here. Even in Japan, Big O, that's pretty interesting. You know, to my knowledge, it was mostly very popular with the English-speaking community, but here we see it in a Japanese one as well. We got God Gundam, we got Master Gundam, Gao Gaigar again, Grandizer, Raijin O. There's the one you don't see quite a lot, Raijin O, but it was a blast in the games where it would show up. And then Shin Getter Dragon, the upgraded version of Shin Getter Robo. It's separate. Yeah, we got some Big O excitement in the chat. You will be pretty pleased with how the American events went. Then Gundam Exia, Bravern, Voltron, Gurren Lagann, and Aquarion. You guys can read that. Gundam series, anything. When people put Gundam series, we just put OG Gundam, right? What better Gundam to represent the Gundam series than the Gundam called Gundam, right? Aquarion. And then we got Transformers V Star Saber. Which Voltron is that? People are talking about Voltron. In Japan, they don't call it Voltron. They're going to call it Golion, which will be the OG. I don't know if they had the more recent reboot of Voltron in Japan. Let's see here. What do we got? Gao Gaigar, King Gainer, Code Geass, Gurren Lagann, Kotetsuji, Gravion, Gundam series. So we can see a lot of the same ones pretty popular in Japan. This is a bit of a more obscure one, though. Neo Atom. What else we got over here? Scope Dog from Votoms. We got Ingram from Pat Labor. But Code Geass or Macross F would also be good. And then Iron Saga original characters are pretty cool, is what I'm understanding from this. Silver Falcon, what's a Silver Falcon from? Any Cyber Goat so far? I don't know what a Cyber Goat is. A robot goat? I didn't see any Cyber Goat. Sorry about that. I know Cyberbots. Senor Presidente, what's a Cyber Goat? You just mean Cyberbots? Japan did not ask for Cyberbots. Silver Falcon is from Mecha Break or Iron Saga. One of you make up your mind. Anubis, Zone of the Enders, or Jehuti. Jehuti in Japanese, but Anubis in English letters. Never mind, it's Iron Saga. Thank you. So Silver Falcon from Iron Saga. We got Voltus 5 here. Evangelion. Kotetsuji, Kotetsu Shinji. This person made sure to specify both. We got Altais and Reis from Super Robot Wars. We got Dai Rayo, also from Super Robot Wars. and the Aldabaoth. So we got a Super Robot Wars fan over here. And then we got Berserk Basakura. I have no idea what that is. CRC90U3 and Trivine. An array of robots. Berserk Fury, it's a Zoid. Thank you. Yeah, we didn't get that many Zoids requests. A little bit of Liger in the English one. We got Dai Kagami from Nijisanji. Oh, and we got both versions. Thank you for writing both. That's always appreciated. We got Dankuga Nova. So we already have Dankuga, of course, in the game. Nova would be a sister machine to it in every definition of the term. Here we have Cybuster, Masokushin Cybuster and Gundam. OG Gundam, of course. Jehudi from Zone of the Enders. Got Demon Bane, the first Demon Bane request in Japanese, I think. No suggestion. UFO Robo, Grandizer. We can see a little bit of popularity in Japan here. Another no suggestion. Big O, again, even in Japan, Big O, having some requests. King Gainer, Cybuster, Soul Gain from Super Robot Wars, and Steel Haze from Armored Core, the Rusty's unit. Rusty had such a cool voice too. It's easy to imagine it in a fighting game. We have Deerstalker, Iron Saga original, one of our most popular characters. It even has a model kit which you can buy somewhere from a Japan reseller. We have Eternal Go Prime coming again. We have Ekovasa, which I'm going to assume is also one of our units. And then Ingram from Pat Labor, the police robot. And we got Psycho Vasago. Oh, this is how they do... Oh, this isn't A, this is the kanji for Sai. Psycho Vasago. Okay, interesting. Thank you, Bad. Then we got Rabitori. Whoa. Rabidrido. Rabidrido. I need help again with this one. Labidrido. Rebidi Dog. I'm not familiar with that unit. What's that from? Is it another Iron Saga? Rabidly Dog. Well, no wonder I was confused. It's a scope dog type. Okay, thank you. From Votoms. We got Vaikung Fu again from Machine Robo. We got... What's this over here? Not familiar with these kanji. Some kind of... Is this Genbu? Might be Genbu. This looks like the kanji for turtle. Don't quote me on this. We got Gurren Lagann as well, and Gurren Gust. Super Robot Wars original. That's a classic. One of the first super robots. And then Dendo. This would be Gear Fighter Dendo. Oh yeah, Dendo. This would be like the electric kanji. Okay, Dendo. Thank you, Bad again. We got Code Geass with... This is Guren, I think. Guren Nishiki. And we got Full Metal Panic. The Guns Back. Not the one you usually see. You usually see Arbalest or Levitine from Full Metal Panic. Also have Doraemon, a little bit of a meme pick over here. I don't know how he'd fit in a mecha fighting game, but he is technically a robot cat. We got a Leviathan, which is a Iron Saga original. We got Aquarion, not an Iron Saga original, but was in our mobile game as well. Gurren Lagann comes back. We got... Oh dear. Got Something Series. I think there are more female robots in the game. Yeah, we don't have a lot of female pilots, huh? That's too bad. That's too bad. We only have Oboro piloting Kaguya and Slowkai piloting Nero. We have technically some costumes. Oh, this one is Muramasa? I'm surprised they put series, because people usually only suggest the main unit. There was a few out of line. There was a few Dragonar picks. Last time we did this from the English-speaking community, and you might see a few other ones in the near future, because this is the the results of the Japanese survey we did right after the game launched. And the final one, another Gurren Lagann. So, if we're following a little bit now, let's see here if I can cheat a bit. Spoilers. Let's only go over here, and yeah. So, what do we got right now for the Japanese survey? People have been requesting, most of all, Gao Gaigar and Gurren Lagann. A bit more Gao Gaigar in this one. Oops, let me just lower it. Okay, there you go. Alright, and so you can see, yeah, Gao Gaigar requested the most in the Japanese survey. Also very popular in the English survey vote. Macross, not in the Japanese one. Definitely had some other ones that showed up in the English survey. But you'll see, a lot more is going to show up. So, we're going to move on to the next list. We're going to do Sakura-Con. It's going to be a bit more exciting because it'll be physical. So I have this box, which was one of our suggestion box. This sticker is not being very kind. It keeps peeling off. But good news, we're about to open the box and it won't be an issue anymore. Goodbye, sticker. So, we're going to go through this. We're going to go through it relatively quickly. So we got here Scope Dog from Votoms. We got the Power Ranger Megazord. We got Big O, of course. Here's a little bit of a meme pick is going on. Big Steve O'Brien. Now, I don't think Big Steve O'Brien is anything, but whoever suggested this, and he put a little signature there. Whoever suggested this made a little drawing for it. It seems to be some type of cat robot. So, you know, maybe Big Steve O'Brien has a chance. We got Groizer X, which I'm not sure is how it's spelled. This is one of the lesser-known Go Nagai mecha. What else we got? We got God Gundam. Probably the most requested Gundam out there. We got someone with 2 requests here. Mecha Godzilla. So you were talking about, you know, Kaiju Godzilla. Well, someone was thinking like you. We also have Eva Unit 1 in there. Close enough to be a robot. We got another Gurren Lagann request. Now here's a more rare pick. We got Double A Zeus from Yu-Gi-Oh! A mecha on a card game. I'm gonna just clean it up a bit. Up next we got Ultraman, and then another Big O. You can see people were very passionate. I have a lot more coming up. That's why I'm kind of going pretty quickly here. We got the Fatum, piloted by Perfectio. That was a boss in Super Robot Wars OG2. So, a little interesting of a pick. Usually when people put Super Robot Wars Original, the Cybuster, Altaisen, this person really wanted to see this boss. We got Gurren Lagann again, and then Strezia, which we had. What's Strezia from again? Let me check. From Darling in the Franxx. You'd think I know that. That's a popular anime, though it's usually not popular because of the robots. And here's a more niche pick here, Frankie from One Piece. Not usually what you think in matters of mecha, but yeah, here it is. And now we have a big mecha fan here putting Fafnir Marksane, Ray Earth, Vandred Dita, Perfect Vandred, Big O, and Arbalest from Full Metal Panic. Now again, I'm only counting the first 3 for the survey, but you know, at least it's acknowledged that this person was a big fan of a lot of things. Now here's you know, when you think of Gundam, it's rare that people are fans of Gelgoog specifically, but here it is. Right next to a bit of a more popular pick, Gunbuster, one of the really popular super robots. Here we got New Gundam. Now, if I remember correctly, this is written in by the New Gundam cosplayer that there was at Sakura-Con, so, you know, it kind of makes sense to have a New Gundam entry from someone who would dress up as it. And here we got Eva Unit 1, Gurren Lagann, a lot of the more popular picks. And what else we got over here? Transformers Generation 1, Soundwave or Bruticus. I'm a bit familiar with Soundwave. I have no idea who Bruticus is. There are a lot of Transformers. And then we got Someone Wants Texas Mac, the cowboy, very American robot in Getter Robo. And there's a tiny little asterisk there for King Geiner. Ooh, the focus is kind of bad there. Sorry about that. Here we have Robotech. Now, Robotech is the localized name of Macross. When I see this, I count it as, you know, the most generic main character unit, so VF1 Valkyrie. We got Voltron, aka Go Lion. We got Big O again. So in America, like I said, Big O very popular. Here, I think this is one of the first time we get to see Gigantor. So Gigantor, also known as Tetsujin 28 Go, Tetsujin number 28, is basically the original giant robot. Not quite to the level of Super Robot. It doesn't have like special attacks or anything, but it's still the first one we had, right? Because it was basically only Astro Boy before was Japanese robot anime adjacent. And we got Voltus 5. Very, very popular in Southeast Asia. It's part of a lot of people's childhood there, especially in the Philippines, if I understand correctly. And here he comes back, Frankie from One Piece. Remember, this was at an anime con, so of course a lot of people are into giant robots, but not always. Sometimes they're just there for the anime, and so maybe that's why you see this kind of answer. Now, this one, less something you'd expect from an anime convention. We have Bender. Bender from Futurama. Not a very giant robot. I guess it would be funny. it would be funny. Yeah. Over here we have 86. Once again, that's actually the name of a series of an anime. It does have mecha in it. They're more quote-unquote realistic mecha. They're kind of spider tanks. The main one is called the Juggernaut, so we counted it as that for the Juggernaut robot from 86. We have Hero Man here from a show called Hero Man. Another giant robot, bit of a meme. Not meme pick, but a niche pick. We have Nervash from Eureka 7. Unique in that it's kind of a surfing robot. It flies on a very technological surfer. Hero Man isn't really big. No, yeah, it is a niche pick. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the point of this too, right? We're going to put less well-known robots, but at least give them the recognition. We have had, in all of these events together, a total of about 340-something mechas, and so some of them are more popular than others, but it's fun to see just people bring up like the obscure favorite picks. It's just, maybe don't expect them to win a popularity contest. Here, speaking of more popular, we got Zaku 2, also next to Psycho Zaku from Thunderbolt. Of course, Zaku 2 a little more popular. Here we got Dan of Thursday. Wake Up Dan from Gun Sword, or Gunnick Sword, however you want to pronounce that. We got Heavy Metal El Gaim. Now there's an interesting one. My one worry for it is that its weaponry is rather limited. It's a pretty standard real robot, but it's a very cool looking design, as most of these. Here's an interesting one. We got Giant Robo and even plus GR2, which is an evil version if I remember correctly. But we also have the character Albert the Impact from Giant Robo, so Shogeki no Alberto. So that one's a pretty funny one because it's just a human, it's not a robot, it's just a man. But he does fight giant robots. He's got like magic powers or whatever. Hence his name, Albert the Impact. He can create impact magic. Don't worry about it. It's a bit more of a funny pick, but yeah, Giant Robo. Giant Robo is definitely one that, you know, you can understand just from the name. It fits with it. Here's a few rare picks. We got Gingeyser, Astroganger, Groiser X, and Daltanius. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Astroganger was in like one Super Robot strategy game, Daltanius as well, one or two, but it's a pretty rare inclusion. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, sometimes people like to find their treasures. How do you know Giant Robo is expensive? Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't know about the license details, but sometimes the way ownership works, it's a whole can of worms. All right, we got Vic Viper. Now, Vic Viper is a bit interesting too, because you assume it to mean the Zone of the Under version, which is a full-on robot. That said, it's also a spaceship. In you know, it's Gradius. It's a mecha version of Gradius. Giant Robo is expensive. It's why it's not in Super Robot Wars. That's too bad, because it used to be. You know, it was in Alpha in '64, but they never had it again. So too bad that they bungled that. We got Big O again. Like I said, in the US, Big O, especially with people who don't watch mecha as much, Big O has quite the following. We got Gao Gaigar here. That one's more of a mecha fan's pick. Alright, here's someone who wrote too much. I understand the excitement, of course, but again, only counting the first three. So we got the Goof, with even Ramba Ral requested as the pilot. Then we have the Phantom Zaku Slash, which I think is in the wrong order. I think it's a Slash Zaku Phantom, piloted by Isaac Joule in Gundam Seed Destiny, I believe. Then it says Robotech. What does that mean? That means Valkyrie, the VF1. So that's the three that we counted. That said, they also say Code Geass, Mechagodzilla, and I guess a Gundam or two. Well, I'm glad I didn't have to count that one, because that's a complicated request. Speaking of writing in a lot, we have someone requesting Votom, so of course Scope Dog. Pat Labor would be the Ingram. We have Gao Gaigar as well. So those are the three I counted. Of course, when people give me a grid like that, it's difficult to know which one to prioritize. Do I go like top to bottom or left to right? I did top to bottom. If they have any issue with it, you know, write me an email. But still, we'll read off everything they put in there. So besides Votom's, Pat Labor, Gao Gaigar, we have Magic Knight, Ray Earth. We have, which one is it? Gravion, Aura Battler, Dunbine, TTGL, so Tengen, Toppa, Guren, Lagan, and that's it. Yeah, because the last one is Magic Knight Ray Earth. It takes the full whiff. Here we have Magic King Zord. I had to look that one up. It is from a certain Power Rangers series whose original Japanese name is Maho Sentai Maji Ranger. But that's all I can tell you about it. This one just says Zoids. The unit we think about for Zoids. It's Liger. It's gotta be Liger. Here we got quite a few requests. Gunbuster, Guren Lagan, Code Geass, Lancelot, and Guren. So as I said, first three only. We counted Gunbuster, Guren Lagan, and Lancelot Guren will be cut off from the total. Then we have 86 Spider Mechs and Gundams with an S. That's not very specific. There's a lot of them. We got Gunbuster with exclamation marks. We got a big fan of Gunbuster. Nervash again, surfing robot from Eureka 7. Daimos, more of a classic pick here. The Karate Mecha Daimos. We got Voltus 5. Got Gundam. When it says Gundam, we count it as the OG Gundam, of course. Here we got Armored Core 6, Nightfall, or Orbiter. Now, I've played through Armored Core 6. I don't remember what Orbiter is. I do remember what Nightfall is. That is the basically the one from the intro movie. You do get to fight against it, and it has the Pile Bunker weapon, which, very cool, very fun weapon. Very much a passionate robot. Where can I leave the robot recommendation? Right now, we don't have it up. Either, talk about it on our Discord, talk about it on our Twitter, Drew Dio. Make yourself known if you want to put a comment in this YouTube video as well. I think people will appreciate that kind of stuff. In the future, it's possible they do another survey like this. So if that happens, for sure, have a look at one of our social media and we'll be sure to announce it. And then also, interestingly, Metal Gear Rex. So that's one we don't see a lot either, but it is a giant robot. Not a huge one. Can be taken down by a human, which a lot of these would be a bit hard to do. There's a really cool mod in Iron Saga versus Discord, Bad the Soul Guy. I wonder who that could be. Here we got Gundam, Astray, Frame Red, and Turn Red. I only counted it as Red Frame. There are a lot of variations of Red Frame. So I think if you get one, it's going to be that. Maybe if it would happen, the second Arsenal would be one of the variations. Probably whatever the license holder would point us towards, right? But for sure, at least one katana would be involved. And then we have Gundam Epion from Gundam Wing and G-Quax. Gundam G-Quax. Which is not quite well spelled. I don't think there are 3 X's in it, but don't worry about it too much. And then Big O comes back. As I said, in the US, people want Big O. Steel Haze from Armored Core, Rusty's unit. What a cool robot. Death Scythe, a bit of a misspelling here, but we understand it. Gundam Death Scythe from Gundam Wing. The one issue Gundam Wing suffers a lot from is that the vote is split. A lot of the Gundams, you'll see a more popular, like just the main character unit. Except maybe First Gundam has Zaku and a few other ones requested. But, like IBO, it's pretty much just Barbados. G Gundam, it's almost only God Gundam, Shining. But Wing is split across almost all the main suits, except, sorry Sandrock fans, you're not big enough fans because you haven't requested Sandrock as much. So Unit 1 NG, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Daijujin, that is the original Megazord's Japanese name, so when you asked for Sentai earlier, that counts, right? That's a giant robot, it's close enough. I think we can make an animated version if necessary. Who will we use for the voice, though? That's a more complicated one, but, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? Here we got GoBots. So GoBots, the English localized name. In Japanese, that is Machine Robo. Now, we didn't have a lot of requests for those besides Vaikung Fu. I feel like someone asking for GoBots probably isn't familiar with Vaikung Fu, but I still counted it as that because I don't think the other ones are big enough and they didn't specify a unit, so it's either that or the vote gets, thrown to the abyss. We got the Iron Giant from the Warner Brothers movie. Now that one I feel kind of sad about because wasn't he a robot of peace? Now you want him to fight in another fighting game? Damn, the other one already didn't work out. I have mixed feelings about this one, but this is, after all, one where people can express themselves and bring out what robots they like. So, Iron Giant fans, here you are. And we got Gurren Lagann again, adding even more to the number. Gundam 00, we're including any forms, just like Barbados, who wrote any form there. Gundam Barbados, any form. So 00, we're also including 00 Razor and that kind of stuff. Here we have a little variety here. Gurren Lagann, Tauburn from Star Driver, and any Gundam's LOL. So, when I see that, what do I say? Original Gundam, of course, Mr. 78. Or Mrs., depending on who's in the cockpit. Got the Lancelot from Code Geass, or Lancelot Albion, the upgraded, I think. Here we got the American Special Megas XLR. Japanese people will be very confused by this one. This is a cartoon that was, popular for a very short time. About funny big guy inside a giant robot whose head is a regular old car. But it was, you know, it was a pretty fun thing. The song is about love of super robots, so of course it kind of fits. However, who owns the license? To my understanding, it's Warner Brothers, and it's probably a bit of a complicated affair. I don't know. It really depends on how receptive they are. But this is true for almost every license, right? Everyone's kind of different to the approach. This one says, Annie Pat Labor, please. So, Pat Labor, we counted as Ingram. Surprisingly, not really anyone requested the Griffin from Pat Labor, despite us having it in the mobile game, and it's a very cool suit. Not that Ingram isn't. It's a very nice design, but the Griffin's kind of, you know, the edgy black scary robot. It's got like those claws. It's a nice one. How do we untax right off Megas? You know, that's a little bit beyond the scope of my work, unfortunately. How about Turn A Gundam? Hasn't been requested much yet. Turn A specifically. You have one Gundam request here. One more. We got Gundam Freedom. So from Gundam Seed Destiny. We got Macross. So this one's a bit frustrating because Macross is the name of the fortress, you know, the spaceship that turns into a robot. But when I see that, I'm more inclined to just add it to Valkyrie, right? Because that makes kind of more sense. Macross is an excessively huge robot. It's like a mile long, you know, like a kilometer size robot. And so it's kind of, even though we kind of fudge around the height of the robots in the fighting game, there's a point where it's like, okay, maybe it doesn't really fit a fighting game. So that's why I'm like, surely I'd count that as Valkyrie. And then Gao Gaigar, of course, a very, very popular pick among robot fans. Now here's another Gundam. We don't see a lot of Gundam Unicorn, despite this being a very, very popular model kit, a very popular anime for its run. I think people really like the fights in it. Gundam Unicorn, yeah. Big O, again, very popular in American events. We got Eva Unit 1 from Evangelion, Zone of the Enders. I see this, that means Jehudi. Sorry to Anubis fans. Optimus Prime, not a lot of Transformers already, or underlined Grimlock. Now it's possible I influenced this pick to my memory. Someone came up and was like, I want to put something from Transformers and I don't know what. And I told them, well, you know, it's more or less a popularity contest, so you're probably better off with the main character. But if me personally, Iron Most, was to choose, I would put Grimlock, because it's, you know, it's a big dummy T-Rex Transformer, and I respect that. That's my kind of, so that's probably why this person wrote both, but it's been a few months. Maybe my memory's a bit fuzzy there. Giant Meta B from Metabots. Now, I don't think this ever happens, but it's easy to see, right? Like, you can just say, hey, they made a giant one for this event. It's at least a fighting robot franchise. They're both an anime and a lot of games for Metabots. Fennex. Yeah, Fennex was very popular in our English survey. We got Gridman. Gridman actually pretty high overall in the popularity in pretty much everything we've had, both in the English survey and in the future. You'll see a lot of it. I think it being a more recent anime got a bit more popular than some of the recent stuff too, you know, like people talked about it a lot more than stuff like Kyokai Senki, A Mime in the, what was it, in the Border, what was the full name? A Mime in the something. But the Japanese name, Kyokai Senki. Also Bravern, unfortunately, because we do like Bravern, very much a love letter to super robots and any definition of love letter, but didn't quite see it as much as Gridman. I think Gridman definitely, yeah. We got Ibis Unit from Armored Core 6. Now, That one's a bit tricky because a lot of the robots in Armored Core 6 are actually IBIS units. There's multiples of them. But one would assume they're talking about the... Oh, what is it here? IB Cell 240, which was the boss you fight right before the... you know, when you get at the bottom of the coral area, and it is a kind of a Cubily inspired robot, if we're being honest. We got Gurren Lagann here, written all tiny on this orange paper. Gurren Lagann and Eva Unit 1, very popular picks. Oh, now here's one. Here's an interesting one. Eldorado 5. This was the nod to super robots that showed up in Gunnick's Sword. They don't show up very often, only a few episodes, but they help out the main character. It was a very fun team up. It's a bunch of old guys. One of them's always falling asleep. They used to be heroes in their heyday, but you know, they're still bringing it up, and they have a little sad moment about the fact that the girl of the team is has passed. She was a granny, and she went before them. But the robot is very cool, and it shows up and saves the day 1.5 times. So good moment in Gunnick's Sword. Gunnick's Sword, very fun anime if you like robots. X-Bomber by Go Nagai. Now I had to look this one up because I was not familiar with this. This is actually like a puppet show. With designed by Go Nagai. So here it is, X-Bomber. Make of it what you will. This one says, I love Pat Labor. So of course we take that as a vote for Ingram. I'm gonna clean up my my work area here, because we still have quite a bit to go through. One more Gurren Lagann. I'll try to accelerate a bit unless I get some more obscure picks like Claptrap from Borderlands, where we even get design notes. Less good at combat, but good defense. I'm not sure why you would put a less good at combat robot in a fighting game, but, you know, I like that they had a thought about it. Anything like the Suzabi or the new mass-produced Zaku from G-Quacks. Here we got Gao Gaigar, Gunnick's Sword, Voltus 5, J. Decker, and Ray Earth. Of course, I only counted the first 3. Same here. Metal Gear Ray, Gundam Unicorn, RX-82, Zaku Armored Core Max, Gurren Lagann, Transformers, Optimus G1, Megatron G1. So we got quite a few here. I tried to be like even, you know, like the first Metal Gear, the first Gundam, and Gurren Lagann, I think. I forgot what I inputted, but I inputted 3 of these. Beautiful handwriting, though. Whoever wrote that in, you know, very nice cursive there. I'll give them that. Dr. Eggman from Sonic the Hedgehog. He did have quite a bit of giant robots of all sizes. Got Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, please. And also Valimas from The Legend of Heroes. Trails of Steel. RPG series that turns out to have mecha in it. Ray Earth. So Ray Earth does end up Magic Knight Ray Earth, initially, you know, isekai anime with a bunch of schoolgirls get teleported into Magic World, have to become knights, but then they end up having giant godly robots, as people should. Gao Gaigar, Gao Faigar, only counted as one. Gao Gaigar, because Gao Faigar is very close. Got Gurren Lagann, Better Man, which is something we don't get to see a lot, which is kind of a sequel, I think, or a side story to Gao Gaigar. We got Big O, Cybuster, Wing Gundam, and Gridman. Again, only counting the first 3. Thunderbolt from Hardcore Mecha, which had its popularity. Now, this is not me who wrote this in, but people asked me last time which one would be my number 1 pick, personally, if I had to choose. Gunleon from Super Robot Wars. What a guy, what a cool robot. Bright orange lion mech. It's my boy. This would not be my pick. Warhammer 40K Imperial Knights. Now, I'm a bit oversaturated. There are so many Warhammer things that come up, but it would provide some variety, you know, give it credit where it's due. It would be a variety of design. We got Jehudi here, Zone of the Enders. I was really surprised at SakuraCon. People really wanted it. So we got Kanti in Hatsune Miku. I probably counted it as Hatsune Miku. This is possibly my friend's fault who helped me at the booth because he is a diehard Furikuri fan, and I have trouble imagining someone else would suggest it, but maybe he convinced someone. Regardless, we counted it. Steel Haze from Armored Core. Big O, of course. And look at that. They made a little drawing. I wish more people had the time for it, but given the booth setup, we had a lot of people passing by, and the administration of the area didn't want people to stop by for too long. And of course, we already had them stop by a minute to play the game. But look at this little drawing of the Gurendan logo. That's so sweet. Guren Lagann, please, please, please. Here we got Tekken Blade, Gal Gaigar, and Voltron, aka Go Lion. We got Big O. We got Ryujin Maru from Mashin Eiyuden Wataru. Now, this is not very popular in the West. But this is actually a really big part of a lot of people in Asia's childhood. So Japan, China especially, and you know, everything in between. So Hong Kong, Taiwan, I think like maybe Southeast Asia as well. I think we got quite a bit of that there, but especially Japan and China, mainland. I think they know a lot about Wataru. We got another Big O here, as I said, very popular. We got Escaflowne, Death Scythe, and any Eva unit. So Unit 1, that's what I'm understanding here. Now this one, really hard to make out. Sometimes people's handwriting, unfortunately, not very easy on my eyes. And I say this as someone with not a very good handwriting, but I took it to be Valrave and Gundam. The second one is pretty obviously Gundam, but the other one, Valrave, and right after that, another Valrave, so handwriting is pretty different. I'm going to assume it was two friends that were fans of Valrave that stopped by at the same time. Got Gundam F91. Very rare for a Gundam pick, but it's a cool looking suit. Wataru have its anime of the spring season. Yeah, people didn't talk about it. Ray Valentine, your message. People didn't talk about it much. I think it's really something that's more popular in Asia than in other regions. We got quite a meme pick here. Korone Inugami VTuber Mech. Now, I don't know if she has a robot. I know she was in Megaton Musashi, I think, as like a pilot or a operator voice. But I don't think she has an actual robot, does she? Maybe she does. Maybe they gave her a robot skin. Optimus Prime for Transformers. Alright, here's a funny one. We got from Cyberbots fan. Now, this is someone trying to buy me because I'm a Cyberbots player too. We can barely make it here, but this says add dresses on the robot. So a feature request. They want to dress up the robots with beautiful dresses. Now, we had, right around when the game came out, there was a fan artist who would draw Shin Getter characters and Mazen Kaiser SKL characters. But she also drew the 3 Shin Getter forms with wedding dresses. And that was a revealing moment for a lot of our community, I think. Something like Gurren Lagann. Usually when I read something like Gurren Lagann, I think of Gurren Lagann. That's kind of a thing I have. Alright, this one, Lancelot Albion, Dan of Thursday, Demon Bane. Of course, we only count the first 3, but, you know, we'll still read out the rest. We got Lion Barrel from Lion Barrels of Iron. We got Imber from Idol Master, Xenogloss. Yeah. And Ray Earth from Magic Knight Ray Earth. Here we have a Mecha Godzilla request, and a specific one of that, the Mecha Godzilla from 75. Anything from Armored Core. Now that one's a bit tougher. There's a lot of series you're like, this is the main unit. And then I see anything from Armored Core and I'm like, I guess I'll add one to like 2 different units and leave it at that, like some of the more popular ones. And that'll be that. Gundam Dark Matter Exia, which I think is in the wrong order. This is actually a modified suit in Build Fighters, so it's Gundam Exia Dark Matter. I came in and I heard Ray Earth. Welcome, Speedstar. Yeah, a few people have requested Ray Earth. I think especially, you know, like women wanted Ray Earth, and not only women, but it was definitely a few women wanted that. The women also want Promare. We got Escaflowne. Very much a classic for people around my age. It played when we were young. Clamp representation. Some people just want the giant legs, you know. Zoids Liger. Of course, there's a lot of Liger. Iron Giant. Second request for Iron Giant. He can't have peace. And right as I mentioned it, from Promare, Rio de Galon. The robot when Leo and Gato combine their power and their love. Rio de Galon. And then we got, with a cute little drawing, Gundam RX-78. I wish I got more drawings, but again, because of the setup, it was rather limited. This one says Gundam Voltron. Now, there is no such thing as Gundam Voltron, so that's 2 separate requests. The OG Gundam and Voltron are go line. We got Gigantor, also known as Tetsugen 28. We got Justice Magenta, which is Iron Saga robot, actually, and God Gundam from G Gundam. Now, this one I had to look up as well. We got Sensei from Planet With and Ovid from the Flower of Lagrange Rin, which I think is just like a human-sized robot. But, you know, robot's a robot, right? Right? Probably. Here's a more classic pick. Gurren Lagann, Gao Gaigar. We got VF1S Valkyrie. For once, someone just doesn't just write Macross. Very specific with which unit from it. Dunbine from Aura Battler. Dunbine, the bug-shaped robot with a sword. Now, maybe chat can help me with this one, because I couldn't figure it out. Astara. And I looked it up online. I couldn't find anything for this one. Astara. Robots I like. This is like a little title of an essay. We got Lazengan from Gurren Lagann. Not requesting Gurren Lagann, but the bad guy robot from it. We got Lancelot from Code Geass and Gawain from Code Geass. So we got a little bit of a Code Geass fan here. Now here's someone who knows what they like. They wrote the exact same thing twice. Char's Red Comet Zaku 2. Now we put all the Zaku 2 together. There's no real reason to differentiate. The only physical difference is that little, you know, that little horn it has, and the red color, of course, which basically you can just make it a color swap. And who else would you imagine as a pilot of a Zaku 2 than Char? You know, there's no, yeah, it's got to be Char, right? Gundam Heavy Arms, specifically Endless Waltz version. Now we put all the Heavy Arms together because there's a few variety of it. Ikaruga from Knights and Magic. Not one we see a lot. Oh, now this I remember. This was from Morse. So Morse was our booth neighbor, an artist that did a lot of cute VTuber kind of fan art. And here's what they had to put, because there was 2 people at the booth. So we got huge suggestion from Promare, which I put in Rio de Garon. I think, like, Galo de Rion is the huge one. It's basically a super attack. And the other one's a bit less, you know, like, from Promare, the representative one is Rio de Galon. Now, their second request, Magic Knight Ray Earth. So, of course, Ray Earth. And you see what was written here. Reboot anime coming soon, collab potential, which is very true. I think good timing like that would be pretty good. And because I told them my favorite, you know, comedy anime is Bobo Bobo Bobo, it says, for staff pick, Bobo Mech. Now, Bobo does have a mecha form in one episode because Bobo does whatever he wants. So, you know, maybe. Now here's more classic picks. We got the V picks, Voltus 5 and Voltron. They're actually Volt. Both of them start with Volt. Jehudi from Zone of the Enders, Gigantor, or Tetsujin 28. Love that they put both. And Evangelion, so Eva Unit 1. Some mech from Macross. I'm not too picky. Which one? That means Valkyrie VF1, of course, VF1S. The original Megazord, aka Daijujin. Now here's one that Gundam fans will find fun, Zagok. Zagok, the Marine unit. Well, it does have some big claws. I love it. I love the confidence. Zagok. Let's go. Got Wing Gundam, and then Haro. Now Haro, not typically thought of as a battle unit, but it was playable in some of the Gundam strategy games as a robot. How much more paper is there? This is just one of the 2 boxes. There's not a lot in this one, but I have a second box to go through. So we'll be here, you know, at least another hour, I would assume. We got White Knight Chronicles. Now, I had to look it up because I only played a little bit of that game a long time ago. And there is a robot, a bunch of robots in it, and one of the main ones is called the White Knight. So, went with that. White Knight from White Knight Chronicles. And then another JRPG mecha, Valimar from Trails of Cold Steel. Here's one that's a pretty fun choice, actually, from an anime convention. Mekamaru from Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, we don't get to see him do much in the anime, but when we do see him, you can see the, you know, how the animators or the mangaka was a very big fan of, you know, that original mecha spirit. You can see a lot of special moves that are just very reminiscent of classic mecha special attacks. We got Dark Fowls, which is the bad guy in whatchamacallit, Phantasy Star Online. Now this one, your guess is as good as mine. Demisim Beast. Even this person didn't quite know how to spell it. There's like, it could be an I, it could be an A. They didn't know, I don't know. One of you guys correct me. Chat, you know all about robots, even more than I do, with your combined powers. Optimus Prime from Transformers comes back. Now this one's a little tricky. It says Gren. Since there's only one R and it doesn't say Lagan, we take it to mean the one from Code Geass, the Gren Mark II. Piloted by Karen. We got a little bit of a meme pick here. This says Pig Robot. Alright, I wrote Pig Robot in the survey. Why not? Another Heavy Arms request. This one says Heavy Arms Custom Endless Waltz, which is different from Heavy Arms Endless Waltz. It's complicated. Got Gundam Epion. Another wing. But see, that's what I meant. The wing vote is divided. Yeah, but Castanha, you would also think of the headless version of Gurren Lagann, but it only has one R in what they wrote. But the Gurren Lagann, even just the Gurren, has 2 R's, right? And that's why I counted as the Code Geass mech instead. Here we got Grandizer, which has quite a few names across the world, but we know which one they mean, of course. The OG name, UFO Robot Grandizer. This one says Gridman Max Form, Gridman Base Form. So clearly this is the same person who wrote those. Same handwriting. I only counted it as one. I'm sorry. It's Gridman. But if this is the same person that also wrote Code Geass series, I put it in as Lancelot. Here's someone else after my heart. Gun Leon. Beautiful original mech from Super Robot Wars. You'll see Gurren Lagann with the 2 R's, as I said. And then Kyokai Senki. Kyokai Senki is the name of the series. I took it to be their main robot, Kenbu. And that's it for the votes from SakuraCon. Now, it's possible, if anyone from SakuraCon is watching, right now we don't have that many watchers, but who knows, they might revisit this video. if for any reason you don't see your vote, oh, it's possible I lost some of them in transport. This box is not the original one we had. That one ended up breaking. It was, you know, a cheap one with stickers on it. This box is a little more sturdy, but I only obtained it afterwards in order to give you a little video. So yeah, it's possible 1 or 2 votes didn't quite make it, but I think that should be most of them. As you saw, that's still a very sizable amount for, you know, just suggestions of what robots people like. Next up, you know, let's take a break from the visual. Let's do a quick look back at our little picture over here, and let's also add Evo Japan votes. So there were only 40 of them. We'll go through them. I already inputted them here. We'll go through them on this sheet because otherwise it'll take too much time. So again, Gurren Lagann at the top, but you can see it's only 4 votes out of 40 because 40 votes is already not that much. I also think while Japan does love Gurren Lagann, not quite as much as we do in the English-speaking regions, right? So, and then second, Lancelot Albion. It does bear to be said, they mostly wrote it as Code Geass, so people would probably be just as interested in seeing more of that. And if we want later, we can look at it ordered by series. We also have Gao Gaigar with 2 votes, Grandizer, Tekken, and Blade. Elgheim with 2 votes, which was a surprise to me. They usually would request Elgheim Mark II. Of course, it has that huge gun, the Buster Launcher. I think if you're going to include Elgheim, either it only being Elgheim Mark II or having it at least as the second arsenal would be interesting. Because like I said earlier, they don't have a lot of weaponry, those Elgheim mechs. Original Gundam RX-78, then Cybuster, Eva Unit 1, God Gundam, Jehudi, Gurren from Code Geass, Demon Bane, now there's one we don't see that much, Gundam Exia, Temjin from Virtual On, Zaku 2, Gundam Aerial, Daimos Gravion, we don't see a lot of Gravion either, Gunleon, always someone out for my heart in those different events, Rasengan, and here someone earlier asked for a Leisner. I think even the Japanese one said Leisner Mark II, a bit similar to what we probably would do with Elgheim. You know, I think the smart thing would be to have Leisner and Leisner Mark II be different arsenals. Freedom Gundam. This one I was surprised we didn't get more, because I know Japan really loves their Gundam Seed, especially Freedom, the main character unit. Gespenst, one of the very original Super Robot Wars mechs. Now there's Zack Wild, which I was surprised this name exists. It is a robot from Sakura War, Sakura Taisen. And it's also very similar to the name of Zaki Wild, who is a Japanese fighting game player who's also a playable character in Kyanta 2. Shoutouts to Kyanta 2. Fun little fighting game, free to play on Steam. Have a look at it. Ultra Fight Kyanta 2. And we got Mega Man EXE, Rockman EXE. Quite a funny pick there. He's not even a physical guy. He's a program. And even if he was physical, wouldn't he be kind of small? But here he is, a robot for the people. Get a Robo. This one surprised me because it didn't say like one of the new ones, and we already have Get a Robo. So we're not going to make you pay for something we already have, but here it is. Turn 8 Gundam, Gold Lighten. Quite a surprise here. I didn't know there were any Gold Lighten fans. That said, it wasn't a fighting game before. It was in Tatsunoko versus Capcom. This one said Tokusatsu robots change robots. I don't know what they mean with this. It's not specific enough. So that's all for the Evo Japan votes. And then if we order it by Sakura-con votes, we'll see here. Most popular, once again, Gurren Lagann with 16. Big O with 10 votes, then Gao Gaigar. So among people, this is pretty much a trend, right? Gurren Lagann up top, Big O, Gao Gaigar, and Evangelion usually following in any order. Code Geass usually not far behind, and then some type of Gundam, in this case RX-78. Of course, if we were to conflate all the Gundam series together, probably the number would be much higher. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. Alright, let's go back to the double camera setup. and get through with the suggestion box for, there we go, for Combo Breaker. Alright, once again, I'm going to try to go rather fast with this because we have quite a few to get through. If you don't mind, I just need a little sip of water because I have been talking quite a bit. People really love Gurren Lagann Naga. Yeah, they do. I would say I was even surprised that it was quite requested in Japan regions, but in the American regions, I was not surprised by that in English-speaking survey as well, because I think it's well known. It also goes beyond just fans of mecha. You know, like people who like anime but not necessarily mecha, they still enjoyed Gurren Lagann quite a bit. Whew. That was necessary. Alright, let's get through it. So, Eva Unit 1, of course, Evangelion, another one anime that's very popular with people who are not necessarily mecha fans. Now here's the very opposite. I had to look this one up. Take a Sword from, let me read this, at least they put it, #1 Sentai Gojuga. Gozuga. There you have it. This is a sword-shaped robot. Pretty unique. Quite the niche pick, but, you know, you enjoy it. You enjoy seeing that kind of stuff. Bad the Soul Guy being impressed. Someone mentioned Gozuga. Here we have Liger Zero from Zoids, so there's a lot of different Ligers, of course, but it's the first one you think of when you think Zoids, right? Here we have Gurren Lagann again. Gurren Lagann. Lancelot from Code Geass. So a lot of popularity from these different units. Chars, Counterattacks, Sazabi. I was surprised we got more Sazabi requests than New Gundam. Somehow I thought New Gundam would be more requested than it is, which is very little. Jehudi from Zone of the Enders. This one just says Gundam Seed. I counted it as Freedom Gundam, whatever. This one, okay, so a lot of people who would do suggestions before putting them in the box, both by curiosity and making sure people wouldn't write anything offensive, I would ask them, you know, have a look what they put. This one put Dino. So I was like, you know, what's a dino? Is it from something I don't know? And the person just told me, no, it's Dino, like a dinosaur. So we got the American Special Megas XLR, of course, again, that American cartoon with the car-headed robot. We got Jehudi from Zone of the Enders, which, again, quite surprised me with how popular it is in the West. We got someone who wanted every robot ever, somewhat understandably. Big O, Jehudi, Macross, so counting it as Valkyrie. And then I didn't put the other ones, of course. Like I said, only 3 allowed. I would often yell at people who wrote in more than one. They also said Votoms, Zoids, Sentai Mechs, which, like, there's a lot of those. Armored Core, 9-ball in parenthesis. At least they specified which Armored Core unit. This one also said 9-breaker from Armored Core, which I counted as 9-ball. Now, 9-breaker is actually the name of a game and a rank inside of that game, which multiple different characters, robots, including the player, get to have. So I just counted it as 9-ball. Since there's a variety of 9-balls. Gao Gaigar, of course, Gurren Lagann, our top picks, right? Victories, Gundams, Get Love, parenthesis, The Wheel. Now, there's a funny pick right here. It's the robot that's in a wheel. Yeah. Respect for the fun factor. Big O, of course, Gurren Lagann. Again, like I said, these are our popular picks. Dan of Thursday, you know, not quite at the level of popularity, but you see him often enough. Ultraman, not quite a robot, but again, you know, close enough. Get Lab vote. Didn't a wheel kill someone? A lot of things kill a lot of people in Victory Gundam. It's not exactly a peaceful show. Gear Fighter Dendo. Now this one, I was really surprised we didn't see it more. We did see it in the Japanese survey, but among a list. And the thing about Gear Fighter Dendo, it equips different equipment from other robots it defeats, which feels like a natural fit for the arsenal system, right, of our game. Here's one that's more in the feature request category or a gameplay suggestion. So I don't know if you can read at this level of focus. Digimon-like mech that evolves as the set go on. So interesting to suggest an upgrade character, which our game doesn't really have. Most of the arsenals are more like ammunition or something you charge up. We had to look up the Japanese name for this one, which is Ryuseo or Tyrannosaurus Red Dragon Thunderzord from Power Rangers. We got Metabots, which we counted again as Meta B, a giant Meta B. Now this is a bit of a tougher pick. Gundam Caliburn from Witch from Mercury. So the problem with Gundam Caliburn, it only shows up for a minute. Most people who voted for Witch from Mercury asked for Ariel instead, which is a lot more prominent. Now, of course, Caliburn's design is very cool, and it's got a pretty unique weapon, but you don't see it do much, and so the vote is a bit diluted there. We got Gurren Lagann again. Pat Labor, our beloved Ingrams. Megas from Megas XLR, the American Special. Fafnir marked signs. Everyone who suggested a Fafnir unit, we have quite a different marks for Fafnir, and I'm not very familiar with them. There's quite a few of them. We got Big O Please with a little smiley face. Appreciate that. And then we got someone who got a little fancy with how they wrote it. The, in like, like bold letters. Big, and then quote-unquote O. I don't know why the O is in quotes, but, I appreciate the little flourish. A little fancy part to it. We got Gunbuster here. Gundam, parenthesis, Barbados. See, if you didn't put Barbados in parenthesis, I would have counted that as the OG Gundam. But this person, they want the big hammer, the big mace. They want to bonk. Gurren Lagann. Love this. The Big O from Big O. Thank you for specifying. Gunbuster and Diebuster, I added both. They're very different units. IBO AE, Speedstar, a fan of IBO. Adelheim, I vote for Digimon Saver, so the art doesn't clash too much. Interesting. Gundam guest character. Now see, this one did not put which Gundam in parenthesis. I count that as OG Gundam. Grandizer, which I think is the spelling with an A. I think that might be how they spell it in the Middle East. Correct me if I'm wrong. Here's a fun one. This says Buff Great Mazinger Arsenal 2. They like the boomerang, but don't like how it performs. And then add Big O. Yeah, I hope we get to see more Great Mazinger in tournaments. Gurren Lagann fight? Is that what it says? Seems like it. Gurren Lagann fight. Ideon! That's one we didn't get to see a lot of requests of. Ideon, I think the robot is very cool. It's got really powerful weaponry, but the pilots are not, they don't hype you up as much. It's a bit of a depressing story, so everyone's kind of a downer in Ideon. That said, the robot is very cool, so makes you think. The Big O. You can't say that about Roger Smith, the pilot of Big O. He's an exciting man. He's a cool guy. Big O, Crossbone Gundam, and Tekkaman Blade. Now, Crossbone Gundam, there's no unit called that. It should be Crossbone Gundam X1, which is what we counted it as. But there's also X2, X3, there's a lot of the Crossbones. Now, there's a pick after my own heart, Belodia from Cyberbots, as I mentioned earlier. I am a Cyberbots player. Why does Madzen Kaiser only have glorp glorp robot noises? I wish I had a full explanation for it. I think you should ask the rest of the staff, honestly, because that's a bit beyond me. Ask again in the last stream, but short answer, we didn't have a lot of resources to complete Madzen Kaiser. I personally wanted it to be more. I pushed for it. It wasn't possible. Yeah, you know. Big O, the Big O. Gundam Wing Epion. People do love the Epion. When's Daimos? I can't say, but I'm glad people have love for it. We got Combattler V. Armored Core 6. V4 Rusty. So that's his unit Steel Haze. Rusty with a cool voice. I won't miss. Oh, what a good moment in that video game. Dino Megazord, Power Rangers, Dino Thunder. Now that one I also had to look up. I think it has a different name. I'll have to recheck. We have Walker Gallia, the upgraded version of... well, it's not the upgraded version. It's the second robot the main character gets in Zabungle. And it's famous for catching and throwing that ICBM. Got Gundam Epion again. It's okay, I'm paid for this. And this is technically not obscene language, but I urge everyone to calm down. Grandma Robot with a big booty from Robots. This person is referring to a robot, and I had to look this up because I never watched this movie. A robot called Aunt Fanny in the DreamWorks movie Robots. Make of that what you will, but I would say maybe don't hold your breath for this robot to make its appearance in Iron Saga Versus. Cybuster from Super Robot Wars. The original from Super Robot Wars too. We mentioned it last time. Dragon Zord? Question mark? Also known as Dragon Caesar. Eva Type 0. Interesting. Rare to see the Type 0 being requested instead of Unit 1. Is it possible to have a modern, simple control in the game? It's quite difficult for me. Reminds me of Street Fighter 4. I would say try going in the options menu in setting the, there should be an auto combo option or easy combo. I forgot the wording. And instead of hold button, put it to the second option, which is like, press the button repeatedly. Boma se setianto, sorry. And that would, while it won't make like special attacks easier to use on their own, it should at least get you a reliable combo. And it's easier to use than the first auto combo method, which is like to hold the button and mash the directions. I always found that a bit less intuitive than just mashing the button. So give that a shot for me. Let me know how that goes. For sure, I'll give them the suggestion of a full-on simple control mode, but that'll depend on what the team has to say about it, and ultimately, like, you know, it depends what they want to do with it. We got Megas XLR Junkyard Style Mech. Do not worry, my friend. I am familiar with Megas. We got Optimus Prime. Gundam Exia from Double O. We got the Muramasa, that spooky samurai-looking robot. Here's someone who likes a variety of Gundam units, including the Big Zam. Well, the Big Zam was in a fighting game before, so why not? And then Zakutu and V2, Victory 2 Gundam. It was a very powerful unit. Maybe the most powerful UC unit? I don't know, after Unicorn came out. With this weird, you know, magical new type abilities. 9-ball Seraph. A type of 9-ball. I like this Crossbone X1. They specified. I appreciate it. Evangelion in Jet Alome. Jet, which is from Evangelion, I think. Jet Alone. Optimus Prime. I had to look this one up too. Golden Robot Gold Run. Jet Alone, yeah, thank you, Adelheim. We got Valimar from Trails of Cold Steel. Quite a bit of requests for that one, I was surprised. Gurren Lagann, quite a bit of requests for that one, I was not surprised. Gao Gaigar, same, definitely one of the top picks among mecha fans. Speaking of the word mecha, Mecha Godzilla. People want to see Robot Dinosaur. Now here's, not only do they have the pick that's close to my heart, Blodia from Cyberbots, but the other Capcom robot game, Tech Romancer, aka Kikayo. And they didn't ask for the main character for Kikayo, or G Kaiser as it was translated, but Dixon, that kind of mech warrior, realistic robot piloted by 5 different people, heavy armor platform. Pretty interesting. Hey, thank you, Bad. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. We got Gypsy Danger from Pacific Rim. Big robot movie. Gundam Caliburn. Love their the way they do their A's. Just a triangle. Neat handwriting there. Oops. I have dropped the paper. I'm too old for this. We got Lancelot Suzaku Code Geass, and what do we got? Phase 9, thank you. Oh, please and thank you. Because this handwriting was a bit tougher for me. Dixon is the Gundam-like. Wise Duck. Oh, you're right. Thank you, Bulma. Dixon is the Gundam. Wise Duck is the... Thank you. So they asked for the Gundam one with the funnel looking. Interesting, interesting. Damn, it's been too long since I played. I appreciate the precision. We got Razifon. Bit of a rare pick there, the angel-shaped robot. Tallgeese 3, Gundam Wing. I forgot if I counted them as both, or if I just thought they meant Tallgeese 3 from Gundam Wing. Technically, there is no Gundam Wing. That's the name of the series. It's Wing Gundam is the name of the unit. Wing Zero Custom from Endless Waltz. It's actually Wing Gundam Zero is the real name. We got Big O. That's also one I find quite fun. The Steel Titan from Live Alive, aka Burikidayo. The remake came out pretty recently, so that was a great time, especially with a vocal song. And they also mentioned Big O. Mecha Godzilla again. So see a little bit of that kaiju request. Gundam Barbados and or Lupus Rex. We count it as the same, Barbados any form. Scope Dogs from Votoms. We got Gurren Lagann. We got Big O. What do we got over here? Grandizer with an exclamation mark. We got Gurren Lagann again. Nerf Nero, please. Hey, listen, I'm only here to talk about what people want to see, not what they want to see destroyed. Gundam Exia from Double O. Now this one has quite the handwriting. I took it to mean Shining Gundam. I hope I'm right. Steel Haze, Armored Core 6. Barbados. Adelheim says, I remember Burikidayo more from its edition in Super Robot Wars D. Madzen Kaiser SKL, please. Thank you for your contribution, Manuel. Manuel Galvan. They nerfed Nero so much that they got rid of A1 a few weeks ago. That was a bug, and the bug has since then been fixed. We got Gao Gaigar. Armored Core 6 Raven plus Operator. Now this I put in Nightfall since that is technically Raven's mech before you steal the name from them. Gurren Lagann, but different. Handwriting. Big O. Now what do we got over here? Giant Robo, Tetsujin, and a more obscure pick, Lightning from Gat Guard. Now you don't get to see a lot of people ask for Gat Guard, but that's another older mecha series. And then Gao Gaigar, I'll just give my stational clean up here. And up next, we got anything Power Rangers, Code Geass, or Megas XLR. So, of course, I counted this as Megazord, Lancelot, and Megas. Now, here's a unique pick again. Justice from Guilty Gear. She is technically kind of a mech, right? She is technically kind of a mech. She's not giant. She might have a giant form in, like, Exerd. The Big O. Guest character Evangelion, you take that as Unit 1. Megas XLR, always the American special. Here we go. Another Capcom Robot 6 machine. Make sure you pronounce it correctly, from Beautiful Joe. Not the 5, but the 6 machine. Gurren Lagann. ARX-7 Arbalest from Full Metal Panic. You know, my biggest surprise with that is people didn't ask for Leviathan more. They asked for Arbalest. Tekkaman Blade. And Shinagogo, baby. Exerd Justice is indeed gigantic, but she never fully incarnated. Thank you, Woodgoat, for the precision about Exerd's story. Classic Gundam Smiley Face. Good old RX-78. Whew, okay, now we're digging. Tron and Watson from Sherlock Holmes. Sure, why not? Gurren Lagann. I think they mean for the Watson, that cartoon where Watson was a robot. Well, this one's a bit closer to a giant robot. Robo Dexo 2000 from Dexter's Lab. And Dynamo from Powerpuff Girls. We got a little bit of Cartoon Network representation here. Gundam Dynamis from Double O, or Dynamis? I don't know how they pronounce it. Big O. See, very popular, especially in Combo Breaker. I think that's where it was requested the most. Cybuster, our beloved Masokshin Cybuster. White Glint from Armored Core, from 5. Got Nightfall from Armored Core 6. Virtual Han with a beautiful heart. Look at that. Love it when people draw. Code Geass. Oh, when they write Virtual Han, I just take it as Temjin, right? Gao Gaigar. Gao Gaigar, please. It's the same unit. Gunbuster exclamation. Hey, another funny one. Travis Touchdown Robot from the end of No More Heroes 3. I didn't even know he did that, but I'm not surprised. Estevalis from Martian Successor Nadesco. Honda Tadakatsu from Sengoku Basara. I guess it's technically a controlled robot. He's not very giant, though. Gurren Lagann. Oh, I think this says Lelouch. So, yeah. Lancelot, Albion. Pacific Rim, so Gypsy Danger. RX-78-2 Gundam, old classic with the full designation. Pat Labor Ingram. Do love it. Megazord. Snake Eyes, Getter Dragon from Armageddon. Would be nice. You think we don't have enough Getter? Hey, Black Getter's coming up. That mecha in No More Heroes 3 is from Demon X Machina, I'm pretty sure. Was Demon X Machina a Capcom game? I guess that would make sense. Big O or Gurren Lagann? Big O. Gundam Wing. Big O. I'm just a guy who says Big O a bunch of times. Escaflowne, Essa Flower. Rick Hunter from Macross series, which I understand might be his name in the English localization. I just took it to be VF1. And Weltall from Xenogears. White Glint or any Armored Core mech? Okay, this one I put as a funny suggestion. We got more girly pop mechs, please. Your guess is as good as mine as what counts as a girly pop mech or not. This one's a pretty interesting one here, because I know that tabletop RPG is somewhat well known among tabletop RPG fans. The Raleigh from Lancer. Now, I don't know if there's a more popular mech than that, but that's the one we got. That's the only suggestion we got from Lancer. There's someone who wants quite a few things. Gunbuster, Buddy Complex, and anything from 5-star stories. We use the Golden Knight since it's the main character unit there. Got Gurren Lagann. Got a bit of a meme pick here. Rob, R-O-B, from the, like Smash Brothers, the Nintendo funny robot. And General Frankie, which is a bit closer to the giant robot situation. Something you definitely see a bit more at conventions like that. Barbados, please. They want the big mace. The large mace to bonk people. Alright, well this one's a bit hard to enter, but I'll at least read it by respect. Just would like more micro-movement cancel dashes, maybe short hops, etc. Very responsive characters, felt big compared to stage, probably intentional, question mark. I do appreciate sharing feedback like that. I'm not sure if it's the right box for it, but it's good for people to say what they like and don't like about how the game moves, how it controls. Jet Jaguar, another robot from Godzilla. This one, which was featured in a Super Robot game. We got Big O again. Gao Gaigar again. Big O again. And then, in big letters, Goof. They want the Heat Rod. We got more Goof picks than we'd expect, which is pretty hype. Here's one we see very little, but more than zero, more than one near. 2B or 9S would be sick. Now, they do get this, advanced mecha armor for the shmup section, so weirder picks have happened. Metabi plus Rokusho. People want Metabots. See another near request, near Automata mech suit. And this here says, Yoko Taro will do anything for money. Now, I don't know if this is true, but that's what this person wrote. This does not reflect the opinions of the Iron Saga team. Lelouch Mech from Code Geass. So that's a Lancelot Albion. Yaldabaoth. That's Super Robot Wars original. Estavalis from Martian Successor Nadesico. Dan of Thursday, or Eldora Soul from Gunnic Sword. So I put both Eldora 5 and Eldora Soul together. I think they're basically the same mecha. Sangurs on Volts, Dai Jengar from Super Robot Wars Original. And our final entry, as you can see, my box is now empty. We got Red Dragon Thunderzord, White Tiger Zord, and Megas XLR. Look at that. Whew! That's a lot of robots, my friends. Alright, let's have a look at these results here. With the total now, I'll order them by what people put in Combo Breaker. So number 1, Combo Breaker, the only place where Gurren Lagann is second at 17, because the Big O is number 1 at 18. They want to cast in the name of God, you not guilty. They want Roger Smith to negotiate. Second, though, Gurren Lagann right behind. The most popular overall, as you can see from the total right next to it. Got Gao Gaigar at 7th, quite far behind. Less than half. Then Lancelot from Code Geass. Megas from Megas XLR. Number 5 with exactly 5. Gunbuster. And then already we start to drop at like only 3 votes. Eva, Gundam, Jehudi, Megazord, Daijujin, Barbados, 2B with 3 votes. You gotta love it. And then, yeah, we go down. So let's have a look at this total over here. I wish I could show the images of the robots, but unfortunately We didn't have the proper setup for this. Any chance of Tekkaman Blade or Big O? Well, as you can see, Big O is the number 3 most requested. Of course, it's very far behind the first two. Gurren Lagann at 131 across everything. And if we look, our total of votes is, well, you can't see my sum at the bottom here, but it's 13,065 votes. So that means Gurren Lagann is 10% of the votes. Now, of course, that's not... I said 13,000. 1,300. So 1,300 votes. So it's at 10%. So, of course, that's not 10% of people, but it's 10% of votes. So some people had more than one vote, of course. Gao Gaigar second at 100. And then you see that's twice the amount of the third, which is the Big O. Still, very impressive. Quite a surprise. I knew people in the West like Big O. I didn't know how much, and it's cool to see it. You can see a few people in the Japan survey also asked for it, though. Of course, it's definitely more of an American popular one with 10 at Sakura-Con, 18 at Combo Breaker, and 21 in the English survey. Then we have Evangelion's Eva Unit 1 at 41, Gunbuster at 38. Now, Gunbuster just got added to our mobile version, so that's pretty exciting for people. And of course, Gurren Lagann and Gao Gaigar are also in our mobile version already. Whereas Gundam, well, that one's a more complicated IP, but we'll see what's up in the future, right? Rather surprisingly, no God Gundam requests at Combo Breaker. Still, God Gundam at number 6 here with 33. And then OG Gundam at 27. Then we got Lancelot from Code Geass. Code Geass, also one of those animes that had reach beyond just mecha fans, right? And then we got the Europe and Middle East special UFO Robo Grandizer, which, no T here. UFO Robo Grandizer. Tekkaman Blade, also in our mobile game, just like Gridman. Both of them ranking pretty high here. And then the American special Megas XLR, among with the hardcore mecha lovers, Scope Dog, the more realistic, big quotes for anything mecha about the realism, but a more grounded take on the mecha warfare. And then off the ground we got Jehudi at 13, but already we're in, you know, like more than 10th. This would be the 14th, number 14. Then Ingram, we also do have Pat Labor in the mobile game. Barbados, Demon Bane, Bravern, and then Voltus 5, the Southeast Asia pick. And then number 20, Steel Jeeg. And then now we're at the tier of 10 votes. Daijujin Megazord, Optimus Prime for Transformers, Cybuster from Super Robot Wars, which I think is the most requested Super Robot Wars original, Zaku 2 from Gundam, and then, well, equal to Daijengar, which is also at 10. Barbados being solo is kind of crazy, Tumbleweed. Yeah. You know, it is a bit of a surprise. Maybe people who really liked it don't have that much overlap with people who either play our game or were at those events, right? I am a bit surprised too. I thought in the West it was a bit more of a popular one. Still, number 16 is nothing to shake a stick at. It is, you know, like as far as Gundam numbers go, right? If you look, I guess it'll be a bit complicated because some of the Gundam series don't start with Mobile Suit. But if you look at all the Gundam series, right, there's a lot of suits that have been requested. And yet, Barbados is still the, what is it, the third, right? Yeah, it is the third Gundam requested. Even the third Mobile Suit period, because it's above Zaku 2 here. They played Gundam Evolution, please world. They know of the horrors Barbados brings. Well, I don't think it could one-shot you in our fighting game. I think the team has been very careful not to have any one-hit kill combos in the game. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this list, what robots you want to see. If you have any questions, of course, I can't speak on future DLC that's not announced, so the only thing I can tell you is what you know about, Mazen Kaiser, which is releasing in a moment, Black Getter, which is coming up during the fall, and Zerreimer, which will be during this winter. Afterwards, it's a little bit up in the air, but please, go ahead if you have any questions, if you want to look at some other numbers. Any Pacific Rim on the English vote? A little bit. It wasn't a huge request, but yeah, it was. Yeah, you can see 3 English survey, 2 combo breaker for a total of 5. I think part of it is it's not a robot with that many, cool, unique weaponry. It has a few. It's not, unusable, for sure. I think a lot of people also gravitate more towards the anime aesthetic, and where tokusatsu or sentai stuff is more acceptable in that, when it crosses to, live action, CG kind of thing, might be a bit further. Very surprised and happy Gao Gaigar is so high, especially in the West from Rising Shogun. Yeah, absolutely. I will say, as you can see in English, we also had a ranking. Sorry, just opening my window. It's quite hot here. And so people would also have one of their picks as favorites. Now it's, it's 25 out of the 77. You don't add them together. It's not 100 total. But you can see, of all the people who said Gao Gaigar, about a third of them, it was their favorite pick. And those people are people who joined the Iron Saga versus community early on. So they would be mecha fans, I think is the thing, right? I think Gao Gaigar is very much the mecha fan answer. Whereas a lot of these other ones are from people who would, enjoy robots, but not as their primary interaction with Japanese media, with anime, with games, like Gurren Lagann, which I think a lot of the people who would favorite it, a lot of the people who said it during the offline events, I think those people are people who are not necessarily mecha fans, but, they watch Gurren Lagann. Yeah, Gunbuster, Pleased World. Gunbuster, I think, is in the same bag as Gao Gaigar, but just a little less popular, a little less big. Still a decent amount. Also, a third of its votes are favorites. And present at pretty much every event, every step of it. Big O, I think, is closer to Gurren Lagann, where it's, it's stuff people would have watched on TV. They probably watched the dubbed version when it aired for them, right? Because this was an anime that was more popular in the US for the translated version. Same in Canada over here, I think. I didn't get to see Big O in the translated version. To me, I just, I got the subtitled version. But it was a great time. G Gundam, also, you can see almost all the G Gundam's answers are from the English survey. God Gundam. So, early adopters of Iron Saga versus... So both mecha and fighting game fans, I think that's where it's kind of it kind of comes together. It just makes sense as a pick. But if you were to ignore the English survey, then probably another Gundam would come out on top. Because outside of that, it's just 5 votes for it, right? And then it would probably be well, not Barbados. Barbados was comically absent from SakuraCon. Probably OG Gundam, honestly. OG Gundam with 13 votes. Only reason Big O even got a second season was because of the Western fan base. It being popular in the West makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those anime, huh? Occasionally you have one of them that do that, where the Western fan base is larger than the Japanese one. I believe the same happened with Ultimate Muscle, not a mecha anime, but you know, just a anecdotal thing that happened where while the original Kinnikuman, the prequel to Ultimate Muscle, was very popular in Japan, Ultimate Muscle not so much. What's my favorite pick? What go? I talked about it a bit earlier. My personal favorite would be, I think, like Gunleon from Super Robot Wars. Let's see here. If I can kind of do a little bit of, can I get a better picture for it? You got this in other sizes? So Gunleon is from Super Robot Wars. I can't find a good sized picture of it. So I am technically allowed to show anything that's official. I can't show any fan art on the stream. Let me see here. If it is official art, then it is all good. There we go. Alright. Yep. Why can't I add it? What's going on, Firefox? Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it like that. Beautiful. Alright, this is Gunleon. This is from Super Robot Wars. It is lion-themed mech with, he's like a mechanic, right? He's got this giant wrench. He's got little chainsaws on his shoulder. Let's see if we can get the Magna mode picture as well. And it's got a little edge to it. It turns into the, oh my god. There we go. It turns into this very edgy, very angry robot. Don't cry, Gunleon, with that small score. Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know, he becomes, like, angry, edgy. He cries. The pilot's a goofy guy. And, it's got, when it becomes edgy mode, it's got a move called Pain Shouter. Pain Shouter. Just kind of roars and it breaks the other robots. And the wrench also transforms, and it's got a pile bunker inside. You know, you gotta have one. Other one I would like, you know, I'm a Cyberbots player. Put in a Cyberbots robot. I guess it would be Blodia. Blodia would be a beautiful thing if Capcom would be so kind. I mean, I definitely enjoyed the top picks as well. I do really like the start of Gurren Lagann. I think Gao Gaigar is awesome. I mean, Gunleon is definitely pretty close to Gao Gaigar. They're both tool-based, lion, orange-ish mechs, though this one has a color scheme that's a bit more that I like, but, yeah. I guess that would be that. If I was to choose a Gundam, it would probably be Barbados. I do like God Gundam. Fretmatic Mekamaru Wen. I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen would be pretty expensive. That said, while my pick is a Super Robot Wars original, or, you know, one of my top picks, as my job as a global media director, I do think Daijengar would probably be the more popular pick. Psybuster is at the same amount. It's not a bad idea either, but I think the way Daijengar works with the giant sword, right? Let's see here if I can get. Well, this is the pick of the high grade kit, which they made. So it has this. It's a liquid metal sword that can become huge, and this sword becomes larger than the robot, right? So I think that's the kind of thing a lot of people would get hyped about. Bigger robot, even bigger sword. Gunleon is the coolest Super Robot Wars protagonist, like holy, you know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking. But do people agree with me? It seems that Gunleon only has 5 votes versus the 10 of the other two original. Yaldabaoth equal, SRX equal. So, you know, it's divided. And I mean, unsurprisingly, Super Robot Wars has a lot of cool robots in it. Isamim says, GR Giant Robot, Giant Robo, sorry, Gurren Lagann, The Big O, Grandizer, Kotetsu Shinji, good solid picks. Shazam, Iron Saga X SRW crossover win. That'd be the dream, wouldn't it? Well, let's see what they have to say in the future. We got a lot of cool robots that would fit well in the game and vice versa. Psybuster and Daijengar would be the general pick for sure. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. That's it. A lot of the robots would fit well. I think some people also said Altaisen. It is at 9, you know, 1 behind the other Super Robot Wars. While I do like that it has a cool pile bunker, Altaisen, I don't know. There's something about it that never quite did it for me. But that's personal taste. And I definitely recognize what it brought to the world. Do you think the ISVS team would ever get to make a Super Robot Wars fighting game if when ISVS pops off? No, I don't think that's necessary. I feel like if it pops off, then it just gets to continue existing as what it is, right? I feel like the way Japan handles its stuff, they would do it internally as Bandai, right? But if Iron Saga Versus is to pop off, then they'll just keep making it, adding stuff to it, adding DLC characters, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I could be surprised that a lot of different companies will commission a third party to make a game, so it's possible. But in my view of what I've seen happening, I don't think so. But stranger things have happened, for sure, for sure. It is not impossible, but I think it's unlikely because, like I said, you know, we're already halfway there. We have Mazinger, we have Getter, we have Dankuga, Zero Reimer's coming up, and if things go all right, you know, they told me there's still possibility for Season 2 DLC, for 2026 DLC, so yeah, hope so. Hope more stuff shows up. More stuff shows up. Iron Saga versus Super Robot Wars. Yeah, I mean, you know, for sure we'd love to see some of the Super Robot Wars units. I mean, the surveys have spoken, right? Like they're not top 20, but they're right behind at 10 votes for a few of them. Total votes is probably quite a bit. If you sort by Super Robot Wars. So I went upside down. Look at that. So many Super Robot Wars units. If you go to the total Cybuster to Zelgard. We got 66 total votes out of 1,300, you know, so that's about 4 or 5%. Was there any Zoids? Yeah, there was a decent amount of Zoids. You can see Liger, Berserk Fury, Liger 0. Honestly, I should just combine these. So Liger 0. Let's just put this here. That's just a type of Liger. Boop. 5. It was not 0. 5 Liger and 1 Berserk Fury. You know, the one thing I thought would have been cool for Zoids, recently they did a collab with Monster Hunter. So there's like a Rajang Zoid. I'd play as that. Rajang robot. That's kind of cool. Let me see if I can look it up. Rajang Zoids. Let's have a look at this thing. Have a look here. Look at this thing. Look at this guy. I'll center him a bit. Ooh, that's not what I want to move. Here we go. Chances of Kiryu, Mechagodzilla, or Jet Jaguar? Man, I can't speak on chances. I think anything you've seen in the mobile game is more likely, but nothing is impossible unless the company is impossible to communicate with, which is not and has not been, and of course, this is the end of my contract with Iron Saga Versus, will not be my job, right? Unless they have a change of heart and they send me another offer, which, you know, we'll see if it gets there, but I don't have any direct information about the collab and their prices and whatnot. So everything's a big maybe. Jader, but he's not getting in before Gao Gagar. Yeah, that's also a thing to where, like, you could potentially see the same unit but upgraded. You know, like Gao Gaigar Genetic as an arsenal. A bit like they ended up doing with Mazinger Z and Mazen Kaiser, where they used the same bones, the same skeleton for animation. So a lot of them would share normals, some or all of the normals, and some or all of the specials. Well, probably not all of the specials. They'd probably change some or most of the specials, but keep some of the normals, right? And the get hit animations, the walking, that kind of stuff. Yeah, Mazen Kaiser is big, but they can alter the size because the game, the way it's programmed, it's easy for them to change the size of things. So yeah, to respond to Mikanyan, Jader, like King Jader, the problem becomes like you probably wouldn't have 2 units from the same series unless it'd be like a really major addition, and even then, I don't know, it depends on the deal with the company, the license holder, and it depends on what the team feels they're able to produce, because I don't know, you know, like, if the team decides to make a 2026 season, I don't know how many units they'd have the resources to make. Would Bang Bravern be a possibility? I mean, like I said, nothing's impossible unless the license holder says no. The factors besides that... Oh boy, a bunch of question marks. The factors besides that become how much, you know, how much it costs to get the license. how much the team wants it in. So both as mecha fans and as designers, how well they can fit it into the game, right? How well they feel it's easy to translate into a fighting game. And then also as a consideration, how popular it is. So if you look at Bravern, you know, 12 votes in the total of 13,000, 1,300, 1,300. That's not a lot. It's not a huge popularity. You know, like, oops, sorted it upside down. Come on, Google Sheets, help me out here. Still, that makes it number 7, number 16. You know, that's not horrible. Any likelihood of more ISVS originals being added, or is it going to be all crossovers? I think it's possible. Of course, number one advantage, there's no licensing price. You know, they already own them. Number two, some of them have existing merchandise. We don't own it directly. Usually it's like a deal with the company that prints them, where we kind of sell the design for them to make figures, is what I understood. Correct me if I'm wrong, the rest of the team. But it's definitely possible. There are definitely some other popular mechs in the mobile version that are not there. There's the Obari mechs that have, you know, like, of course, the, I need to take this figure out, the, the Asura, which is from the mobile version, has this figure, this huge figure, but doesn't have a representation in Versus besides as a profile picture. And was designed by Masami Obari, so one of the classic mecha designers, along with, let me show you that guy, one of our guys, Goraiga. Let's get a nice picture of Goraiga. Alright, Goraiga over here. Which is, you know what? You asked me which one I'd like to see. Speaking of Goraiga, one that was basically not asked for. I think we only had like one request for it total. Another Super Robot Wars original. But that Goraiga is very reminiscent of Kompach Kaiser. So that would be one of my picks. This is another Masami Obari designed mech for this one for Super Robot Wars. And as you can see, both of them have this kind of mask design with the green eyes. This one owned by Iron Saga. It has, let me see here, it has like a big samurai sword thing going. Yeah, G-Kompach Kaiser is the upgraded version. Oh, Harigoro-san! Yokosoe! Welcome, Harigoro. Harigoro is the winner of EVO Japan, the Dankuga Arsenal 1 player. Sekai tabun Nihon ichiban no Dankuga player. Is he as good as Mecha Fan? At least probably equals, but is one of them better than the other? I wish we could find out. I wish we could have a fight. Unfortunately, connection between Americas and Japan, you know, there's no fighting game that can do it well. But yeah, this Goraiga unit was made by Masami Obari. It is in Iron Saga Mobile, and it has a figure as well. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Also by Moshao Toys, who are the ones who who made the Ashura one, but whatever event I would go to, I only saw the Asura one. I can't find a good picture of it, unfortunately, but there is a figure of Goraiga if you want to look it up. The other one we have a figure of, and who I'm also understanding is pretty popular in the mobile version, partly because the pilot is a beautiful waifu, as people like Deerstalker over here. Which is more of a range unit. As you can see, it's got this giant, I guess, sniper rifle. Cool robot right here. It's got kind of this little side cloak too going on, and some feminine shapes. Your +1 vote for a friend. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so it's definitely the more popular ones. I forgot who's the pilot, but I know she's at least available as an avatar in Versus, or a profile picture, not necessarily a moving avatar. I forget which is which. But yeah, Deerstalker was definitely... Yeah, it's just like a cool, efficient robot. You got a little missile launcher and what I assume is a laser beam cannon on the shoulder. And of course that giant rifle there. And the cape gives it a little flare. Teresa, thank you, Kiryu. Let's get a little picture of Teresa on this. You can see she even has the same gun, more or less. Teresa, yeah, you can use her in the lobby. Okay, she is a moving avatar. That's cool. So yeah, she was popular enough to get that, and so I was surprised. I was surprised they didn't initially put it in, not just because this robot has a model kit available, but also because it has a pretty girl pilot, which we have very few of right now. Right, we only have Oboro and Slowkai. Out of all our characters, those are the only female pilots, which, for guest characters, there are very few that have them. Only like Gunbuster and Patlabor are like the major female piloted ones. I guess some of the more recent Gundams as well, Witch from Mercury, G-Quax, has female pilots. But otherwise, it's relatively rare as a main character thing, unfortunately. And so... I would have thought we would have dug in a bit more there for our Iron Saga original units, right? Simply unmurdering Susano would be enough for me to play the game again. By Mikenyan. Weird that Kanti is solo on the list by Fretmatic. Gee, I wonder who put Kanti in there. Mikenyan... So, full disclosure, I did contest the decision to change Susano Arsenal 2 a little bit. I will talk to them about it some more. To be fair, when the lead designer decides a thing, sometimes that's just how things are, and it's kind of difficult to change his mind. No matter my criticisms, I do have to admit the game is pretty well balanced for what it is. Even though there are some robots that you do see more in competitive, we've seen a bit of everything, right? That said, talk about it, put it in feedback, put it together. The more people band together and send a message, the more you'll have an impact, right? And I know pretty much every Susano player. And maybe Haregoro-san can help me. Haregoro-san, Nihon no Susano Buki Nigo? Buki ni Buki tsu 使い人は、新しいチェンジ人々は好きか Sorry for my terrible Japanese. 俺の日本語はまだだねけど Yeah, if you have an answer, Harigoro-san, about whether how the Japanese community has taken the Susanoo Arsenal 2 changes, because at EVO Japan, Susanoo Arsenal 2 was very popular. In our top 8, I think we had 3 Susanoo players, including 2 Arsenal 2, and in the total of our 40-something players, 45, 48. Full disclosure, myself and others have already given lengthy feedback about this. Yeah, and I mean, do what you can. I appreciate it, and I think you're doing the right thing. And I'm all for, you know, I as much as I can, and on my final report before, you know, completing my duties of my contract, I will make a mention of this. I actually made a mention of this kind of change being a problem way back earlier when for Dankuga Arsenal 1, the Sword Arsenal, you know how he can do some of its attacks a bit faster right after drawing the sword, and he used to be able to do 5B, so that's the quick horizontal swing. He used to be able to do it out of that, and they removed it, saying that it was too good. And I pushed back against that because I thought, even if they make it less good, you know, like make it slower when it's the draw version, I don't care. The only problem I saw was removing possibilities like that. And even then was a step removed from completely removing a special attack, which is what happened to Susanoo. On top of a complete change on how the arsenal functions, you also lost that, and I forgot what it was called, one of the versions of Kamaitachi, but the charged D, you know, that you had when the arsenal gauge was full, where it was that stationary cyclone right in front of you, that got completely removed, right? There's a modified version of the crouching one that sends Stormbringer, I think you would go. So there's a modified version of the crouching one where it used to send multiple projectiles, and now it only sends one, I think. And now you can only do the big shockwave if you charge during the move, which makes it, you know, useless on reaction, useless as a zoning. Well, no, it's basically only useful as a zoning or combo move, but even then it's a very limited zoning move because of how long the startup is, right? And my opinion is also that because I did some of the localization on the move descriptions and everything, the point of Susanoo is that the weapons, his 2 swords, and the dual drive engine, which is the A plus C thing where he rubs them together and charges up the gauge, which is now only in Arsenal 1, but the point was like to have interaction between the 2 themes of the arsenals or something, right? It's the dual drive engine is because one sword is fire, or, you know, like sun and moon, and one sword is storms. And then he combines them to make Ami no Habekiri, which is the super. And so losing the dual drive engine is kind of contrary to the theme, the lore of the 2 swords, which, come on, I think they could have let you have it, even nerfing it in some way. You haven't noticed any new changes. People aren't using... Okay, Harigoro, so... Susanoo Tsukai wa mou inai ka? Dare mo inai... EVO Japan no naka de... Susanoo Tsukai wa takusan. Demo ima nai desu ka? Fable C was still there. Give you instant max charge until spend. That could be something. Yeah, exactly. Removing the dual drive engine from A2 is antithetical to the character. But, yeah, that's kind of what I felt translating it, and then later seeing it removed. But the best I can do is, you know, like, write it in my final report, say, hey, everyone who played that, they felt bad. If you want to get into, like, marketing talk, that's bad for player retention, right? I felt the same about some games I've played, some more recent games. I used to play Guilty Gear Strive. I was a player of Soul Bad Guy. Of course, that character was kind of busted on launch. And I didn't mind him being nerfed, but they made him more boring, less fun to use. Combos didn't work as well. Some moves were just not useful in as many situations. And even more so for the quite malign game, DNF Duel. I loved DNF Duel when it came out. I was a troubleshooter player. But in a game where some characters can combo you for like 30 seconds, string the same move over and over, and loop you, and then troubleshooter they ended up making so that his, whatchamacallit, the, you know, like the combo hit stun DK was raised so much that you could only combo like 7 or 8 moves. And so, yeah, of course he lost access to TODs, which, I mean, if there was their intention, I don't understand why other characters still have them in that game. But on top of it, even if they completely nerf his damage, the combos are also less fun to do, right? The character just became less fun. And so even in a world where Susanoo is as good, because in the Guilty Gear Strive example, Soul Bad Guy is still good. He's just boring to play. And in the DNF example, Troubleshooter is bad. And if their goal was to nerf him, that's fine. But he's boring to play, right? The big problem is making a character less interesting. When you miss an older version of a character, not just because it was good, which some people gravitate towards that, of course, but just because it's fun. You like the mechanics, you like how it plays, and then you lose him, right? I fully agree, Mikinian, and like, you know, I've talked about it, but, you know, I'm not part of the design team. I've had small influences here and there on some of the design stuff, and some of these influences, you know, snowballed. I've definitely contributed to some of the balance prior to the release more. I didn't have time for it, unfortunately, for this balance patch. Otherwise, I would have. I didn't even know it was already ready when Shin Getter came out. Are still many people playing with Shin Getter? I will try Susanoo for a while and check the changes. Thank you, Harigoro. Please try Arsenal 2, especially, because Arsenal 1 didn't change very much, but Arsenal 2 changed a lot. The plus flames don't matter because you're too far to throw, so there's no reason for the opponent to active defense. Sorry, I'm trying to read through all your comments. You guys have a lot to say about Susanoo Arsenal 2, which is understandable. Again, you know, in summary, I agree. I don't like this type of change as not only as a personal thing, but as part of my job. As I said, I think it can be toxic to player retention because losing the parts that you loved about a character, especially on a game where, and we have to say it, the player base currently is not huge, right? But the ones we had were very passionate about the game, and so to lose your passion, to me, it's not something we want to happen, right? We want to keep your passion for these characters, for Susanoo, for whoever, right? For Dankuga, in my case. I'm a Dankuga diehard guy. But if they made it so that, you know, the sword completely changed and how it worked, well, to me, it's kind of too late, right? You had the moment to do that prior to release, where it's like, it's different from the beta. That's too bad, but that was a beta. It's understandable if something really changes there. I don't feel there's another way to be heard, Mikenyan. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're still more heard than if this was, like, a bigger game, right? Because, like, Guilty Gear Strive, we're a drop in a bucket, right? Whereas if you and Woodgo and, you know, like all 5 other regular posters to the Susanoo community, and then Harigoro investigates, and then like the Japanese community also shares this opinion, even though if it's like, you know, 10, 20 people, well, that's the people who are playing the game right now. You're our player base, because unlike Guilty Gear Strive, we're not huge. We kind of depend on you for, you know, we have a symbiotic relationship where your passion feeds into like events like TNS. You're our good players. You're the people we want to show off. We want to say, hey, look at, you know, this guy mastered this character. This is a great player. They're making combos. They're making this. They're making that. And that's what I want to make the team understand that. And I think a lot of members of the team do understand it. Like, yeah, I'll be leaving the team and leaving them this document, but just as much, I think the English community speakers, so you'll know them as Slokai and Elaine, and these two, Elaine you won't see posting much because that person is working more on the other game of Game Duchy, which is Resonance. It is a mobile game that is not out in English yet. It's only in Chinese and Japanese. But that's our main job. Whereas Slokai is has a finger in every pie, and with my departure will be your main contact, your main point of contact with the Iron Saga versus team in English, right? And Slokai, I can tell you, both of them, they really understand this. They might not necessarily have the same ability to articulate it, not because they don't have the skills or anything, but just because they're less close to the fighting game side of things, right? They're not fighting game players, whereas, you know, I've participated in fighting game tournaments, I've organized them, I've helped at major events, and so on, right? And so that, and they're also, their work is spread thin. Both of them work on multiple projects, because as the team, it was already the case, and as the team is downsizing, they get even more in this situation. You don't feel compelled to pick another character or arsenal? Well, because arsenals are basically a character at this point, right? Even though some of the skills you learn playing an arsenal usually transfer a little bit to the other arsenal, it's still more or less a completely different character. And it's understandable. You lost something. To go back to my DNF Duel example, I was the first person to post on Twitter a TOD with Troubleshooter that worked on any character at like a certain health amount, because that was important in that game. And a little bit of bragging, but I got a like from a Japanese pro player, I believe it was Goichi. Goichi liked my combo. Wow, okay, impressive. But that combo is not possible to do anymore in the game, right? Because of the hit stun DK I mentioned. And it's not just that it's not a TOD, it's merely impossible. It's not that you can do the combo and it does half damage. It just doesn't work. The combo's been removed completely, right? And so that's like, I can't go back. I can't go back to that, and you can't go back to this Susanoo that you loved, right? And that sucks. And I understand that. And I want to communicate that to the team too, because I feel the same, right? I understand that feeling perfectly, and this is where I need to underline the relationship that the dev team has with the player base, right? Because this is what you have. You have this relationship where, especially in the way modern games work, where it's not like, oh, you know, in Iron Saga versus 1, Susanoo worked like that, and in the sequel, you know, Iron Saga Accent Core, Susanoo changed how it works. Well, we don't have that anymore. It's patches. The old version is not in there. It's rough. It's rough. That's also another thing I don't know how good their version control thing is. That's definitely something that could be interesting to explore. That I'll include in my report is, what if they just put it in just for fun? A bit like Street Fighter 4, the final version did, where you could set a character to, you know, like launch Street Fighter 4, Super, Arcade, Ultra, right? And Omega, they had the crazy versions where, you know, the character had modified, funny moves. A little bit like the Guilty Gear EX characters from the older Guilty Gear games. Especially now where they apparently refuse to address the actual problem characters. Yeah, that's another thing. I don't know how much they get influence from which competitive scene. Now, if you've been able to watch the TND versus Diaphone match, if not after the stream, and if you have time, you know, go in the live section of this. I'll go back to this camera. We don't need the we don't need the picture of that character anymore. Go to the live section of our YouTube channel. Have a look at the TND versus Diaphone match, the first to 10, and you'll see how, like, TND is someone who's working with GTW. So GTW, which stands for Golden Tough Will, is a Chinese esports company that Game Duchy is collaborating with. So that's why Arsenal 2 of Nero is those GTW fighters. They're the mascot of that company, those little robots. And that's why you have the new GTW Arena stage and also the GTW building logo in Night City. And so TND is from GTW, but works for Iron Saga Versus as well. He's basically the in-house pro player, right? In TND's opinion, is that actually Mazinger Z is one of, if not the strongest character in the game, especially Arsenal 1, which was really off the radar for English speakers, and people have been telling me the opposite, which I don't believe. Very few people, except like one poster on the Discord, have been saying that Mazinger Z was good. Whenever I would hint that there was a secret good character, people would not even necessarily bring it up. And when they did, it was A2, right? Arsenal 2. Because of its really, really high damage ceiling. If you are in the Mods and Power install, you can do... Yeah, every Susano player would be on the Mazinger Z Top Train IMO. Well, listen, I'm ready to accept that I really didn't see it, but if that's the case, I'm really sorry, because I feel like that's something I should have noticed. But whenever I would bring it up... do I have any mods here? Would go. I'm gonna add you as a mod. I'm gonna delete it myself, but if you see anything else like that, let's clean it up. This game is not free. It is yeah. Oh, you're there too? Alright, I'll put both of you as mods. I didn't know you were still there, please, world. There we go. What else? So, where were we? Oh yeah, Mazinger Z A1 being overtuned. Yeah, well, so even in the world where we accept that, our little band feature here. There you go. So even in a world where, like, Mazinger Z Arsenal 1 is accepted to be overtuned, right? Then in that case, alright. What's going on here? Got some wacky guys. Might have to put to change a little bit of the moderation features over here. That's new. Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, I'll put you as mod to Mikinyan. Thanks, guys. Sorry about that, everyone. It seems, yeah, we got botted. Those things happen. Unfortunately, the reality of the internet nowadays, but it is what it is. Alright. Anyways, yeah, so even in a world where we accept that Mazinger Z Arsenal 1 is one of the strongest arsenals, then, alright, I think I need to make it. Unfortunately, I need to set chat to slow-mo. Let me see how we do that again, because we're having some funny moments. Let's see here. It's been a while. I'm almost done anyways, but yeah. The nerf to Mazinger Z Arsenal 1 was, yeah, here we go. Alright, slow mode has been activated, so the spam has been reduced. Sorry about that for other people. Your messages do matter to me and the community, but yeah. Those are things that happen. Yeah, so Mazinger Z got hit with a very small nerf, Arsenal 1, right? The missiles got nerfed by 5 damage per missile. So it used to be, I think, 30 damage per missile, and it's down to 25. What do you do about that, right? It's unfortunate. So yeah, I can't say I understand some of the balance changes that much. And on top of it, like, you know, the nerf to Susano Arsenal 2. What was the other one? I mean, the buffs to Vasago Arsenal 2 was also pretty surprising. It's complicated. Yeah, don't be afraid to use the timeout button mods. Hold 24 hours. Yeah, Vas Arsenal 2 buffs had you in shambles. I know, it's it was surprising. Mazinger Z Qinglong, yeah, I was surprised they kept the plus frames on Qinglong 5B as well. Kaguya A1. See, people keep saying that, and we don't get to see it a lot, but I'm ready to believe it. The A plus C, you know, like burning the Arsenal gauge is pretty efficient. Great Mazinger Arsenal 1. You think so, Mikinyan? We haven't seen it a lot, and the Iron Saga versus team was telling me that they knew Arsenal 2 is pretty weak for Great Mazinger, and Arsenal 1 even, like, not particularly favored. I think part of it was that it was not very plus after a grab. Yeah. Shin Getter must be up there. Yeah, I feel like Shin Getter is seeming pretty good, which I'm happy with. I was worried if the DLC character was going to be not very strong, that would have been a worse look. And considering the characters, like other characters, are still pretty good. Yeah, I didn't get to finish talking about GTW and Nero. Why did I bring that up? What was the reason I brought it up? Then we got sidetracked a little bit. But, that's the one character I could see being modified a bit. One, because the way it works is very similar to Arsenal 1, where the characters are just an assist. Two, because the initial plans were a bit different. And it's partly because that character is, you know, that Arsenal is commissioned by GTW, right? By Golden Tough Will. And that makes it so that, yeah, that makes it so that if they would want to change it and we'd have the resources to allocate to it, which they could sponsor, right? Then that's one I could see changing a bit more to a different, you know, something to separate it a bit more from Arsenal 1. We'll see. 8 characters and 12 Arsenals. Both narrow Arsenals. Yeah. Yeah, out of what? Like with Shin Getter, we would be at 27 Arsenals. Not 13 characters, 27 Arsenals. And soon 13 characters, 28 Arsenals with Mazen Kaiser. Yeah. Yeah. Well, 27 Arsenals, right? Because you gotta count Getter Robo as 3 Arsenals. And Mazinger Z is soon to be 3 Arsenals as well. Technically, I see it as 2 separate characters, and in my view, it could have been a separate character-on-character select, and that wouldn't have changed anything, just to, like, you know, differentiate it, right? And to say we have one more character in the fighting game, but what can you do? What can you do? Are the GTW Goobers in Iron Saga mobile? I don't think so. Because GTW is an esports company, I don't think they interact much with the mobile game since there's no competitive. Out of all of them, the Arsenal they gutted in Frankenstein together was mid-tier at best. Which one do you mean, Mikinyan? Oh, Susano A2, yeah. 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 Sigh. Big sigh. Yeah, I don't know why they made the change. Again, I'll try to communicate it. Alright, I think it's about time for me to end the stream. So about 2 hours of talking about people's requests and an hour of doing a little bit of a Q&A. So there'll be one final stream today as well, 9 p.m. EST. I'd love to see you guys again. I'll be doing my little personal tier list, which you're free to talk trash about. I think at this point you guys are a bit more up to date with the competitive. I think a lot of it will be more like, you know, it's what I've seen in major tournaments, which some of it might not be up to date. I'm fine with it. I'm doing it just to, like, give a little bit of engagement, a little bit of fun, and more Q&A, more of a chill talk about the status of the game. A bit like we just did, but, you know, a little summary of what I did at the company, and we'll talk about the game, yeah. So thanks, everyone, for hanging out. Really appreciate it. It was a good time. Yeah. Take care, my friends. I'll see you soon. Have a great one.